Well, hello everyone. This is actually attempt number 4 to make this silly video. It's been quite a while since I've done one. I have several planned. I've heard from a number of you. I've really appreciated the comments, the compliments. Turns out I've actually helped people discover some good music that they might not otherwise know, and that's one of the great things about being a music geek like I am, and some of you are. We're pretty open-minded, and we're always looking for the next thing, the next it that we can discover and play and just fall in love with. And I really hope that some of what I present here, well, ideally it's my taste. I'd love if all of you got all of it, but anyway, hopefully some of what I present is something that you will enjoy and seek out on your own, on vinyl, CD if it's not available on vinyl, stream it, see if you like it, and then buy the physical copy. So anyway, today's topic I thought was going to be simple. It turned out to be very difficult for me. It's ranking Black Sabbath's studio records. Now they have 20 of them. I decided to try and narrow it down to the top 10. Honestly, once you get into the top half, I don't like a whole lot of them, a whole lot more than the other, and that includes singers from all eras. Black Sabbath had a plethora of singers, but the ones on record on the officially released studio albums were Ozzy, Ronnie James Dio, Ian Gillan, Glenn Hughes, Tony Martin, and some of them came and went a number of times. Some fantastic records, some groundbreaking records, and a few stinkers. So I'm going to do the top 10. And speaking of stinkers, and this is actually very hard for me to do because every musician on here is dynamite. But I'm actually going to give you number 20 just because I rarely will say this. I don't want to crap on anybody's art because I'm not a musician. I sang in choir in high school, that was it. I don't want to dump on anybody's art, but I hate this album. I hate this album so much, I can't listen to it. I bought it many years ago, basically as part of being a completist even then. It was never meant to be a Black Sabbath album. It was meant to be a Tony Iommi solo album. He was the lone original member, and the record company pressured him into calling it Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi, and it's called Seventh Star. And the cover is cool. Some of the song titles are cool. The voice of rock, Glenn Hughes, sang on this one, but Glenn was at his absolute personal and professional lowest, even though his vocals were here. The songs, this is a pop rock album to me, other than the initial song, In for the Kill, is excellent. Great Black Sabbath album. Not top 10, or song, not top 10 or probably even 20, but a really darn good song. Beyond that, just terrible, just awful crap to me. I hate this record so much, and I feel so bad because Eric Singer's on it, Dave the Beast Spitz is on it, Jeff Nichols is on keyboards, Tony Iommi on guitar, the great Glenn Hughes on vocals. Everything should have worked, and it didn't, and it's terrible. So I just, for a bit of humor, I had to get that out of the way. I can't stand that album. Numbers 10 and 9, they could really maybe switch places at any given moment. Number 10, I bought years ago, didn't touch it for 20 years. I don't think I listened to this CD for 20 years. And then I finally gave it a go, and it went from near the bottom of my list to top 50%, which it's crazy what 20 years will do to your ears. And I'm talking about what is widely regarded as the best of the Tony Martin era, and that's 1989's Headless Cross. At this point, they were on an independent label called IRS. The great Cozy Powell, who came and went in Sabbath a number of times, is on drums here. The title track is really akin to just about anything from the Dio years. The opening Gates of Hell that goes into Headless Cross, Devil and Daughter, When Death Calls is great, Black Moon, really strong songs. Again, my favorite? No. But Tony Martin had some really criminally underrated work in Black Sabbath, and Headless Cross is part of that. That was a fairly successful album for them for having a relatively unknown singer come in. And in that vein, number 9, and this used to be my favorite, and it still is from the Tony Martin years, but it maybe could switch places, thanks to listening to that. Black Sabbath, The Eternal Idol from 1987. They really the band redeemed itself. There's a hodgepodge of players on here. Iommi and Tony Martin are the only constants. No, Jeff Nichols was on keyboards on this as well. The Shining, Ancient Warrior, Nightmare is great, Scarlet Pimpernel, the title track, Eternal Idol. This one, a lot of people I think don't know or don't remember. It's got 80s production, as does, kind of Headless Cross, but there's a really strong set of songs here, and if you're open-minded and you're willing to look past the Ozzy years and the Dio years, the Tony Martin era had some real gems, and this is one of them, and I highly recommend this. Again, that and Headless Cross could kind of I'm sorry to repeat myself, but they could be 10 and 9, 9 and 10 on any given day. Number 8, this is probably going to be sacrilege for a lot of people, and you're already saying to yourself, okay, I think I know. Number 8, and please don't hate too hard in the comments, it's Paranoid. And you're thinking to yourself, how on earth is Paranoid not 1 or 2 or whatever? It's because the songs, both on classic rock radio and in Black Sabbath's live shows, are so overplayed that I could take them or leave them. If I never heard Iron Man or Paranoid again, I'd probably be happy. Yet, at the same time, as a whole, this album was genius. It was so well put together. If I hadn't heard 6 of the 8 songs 10 million times, this would be much higher in my listing. So there's my reason for it. Not putting it down. It's just, it's one of the best sophomore albums in rock and roll, but it's just played to frickin' death. So number 8, Paranoid. War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, Fairies Wear Boots. You all know every one of those. And they're great songs. But for goodness sakes, we're the band that's got 20 albums and 5 different singers. Rock radio, you suck, play something else. Number 7, again, you might be kind of mad. I'm rating it higher. This one used to sit lower in my esteem, and I don't know why. Maybe because I wasn't musically adventurous enough. My ears weren't open enough. But in recent years, I've really rediscovered my love of this. And it's the one that started it all. The self-titled Black Sabbath album, 1970, released February 13th, a Friday, 1970. And think, Black Sabbath and Paranoid came out in the same year, which is insane. So the title track, The Wizard, NIB, Wicked World, Sleeping Village, I can't remember the song that was on the European edition. It wasn't here, but anyway, doom and gloom, prototypical heavy metal. Metal really started here. It was in its infancy, but this was the first major metallic statement with the tone, the lyrics, the voice, Ozzy's wail. Bill Ward deserves so much credit for his drumming. He always said, he was more of a percussionist than a drummer, and he established that pattern right here. Geezer wrote deep, dark, spooky lyrics. So yeah, number 7, self-titled, Black Sabbath. Love this album. And I'm going to keep saying I love these albums because I really do as we go forward. I mean, there's not a stinker in the bunch. These are, the top half of Sabbath's catalog is fantastic. I have it all just because that's what I do with bands I like. I buy it all. Number 6. This may also surprise you. If you watched my ranking the Ronnie James Dio albums, you will know that this sits lower than a couple of the others. But again, a near perfect masterpiece, Heaven and Hell. The band at that point had put out several lackluster albums. Their heart wasn't in it. Musically, they were nowhere near what they should have been. They were scattered. They were totally, musically, their brains, I think, had gone to mush. They just weren't producing great records. Ronnie James Dio comes in, helps reinvigorate the band, takes over lyrics for the most part from Geezer, is a musician himself, so he's able to help, sings in a completely different style than Ozzy. Neon Nights, Walk Away, Heaven and Hell, Die Young, Children of the Sea, Lonely is the Word, Wishing Well, Lady Evil. I'm just reading them off because I can't remember the exact track listing on the album, but that's how they're listed on back. The great Martin Birch, rest his soul, who just passed away in the last year or two, engineered this, produced it. So, yeah, Heaven and Hell. There's not a lot I can say about this one. There's not a lot I can say about most of these, so I'm going to try and keep it somewhat short. Heaven and Hell, my number 3 out of 4 favorite Dio records. Love this. The title track is top 5 heavy metal songs of all time. All right, so now let's see. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So, number 5. Its immediate follow-up, which if you watched my video for the Ronnie James Dio years, you'll know that this used to sit significantly lower with me, but after buying the remaster, just came out this year in 2021, I think it is a lot more consistent album. The sound is a lot better on it. It's heavier. The bass sound is a lot more in your face. Turn Up the Night, Voodoo, Sign of the Southern Cross, Mob Rules, Country Girl, Slipping Away, Falling Off the Edge of the World, Over and Over. I could kind of take or leave Over and Over. Not the strongest ending. Could have, one of the other ones could have ended it, but overall I think a stronger record. And they had a lot more to prove with their sophomore album as a group. Bill Ward had left the group. Vinny Appice came in. He had quite a resume of his own. I think most recently, before this, he'd been with the Rick Derringer Band. But Mob Rules, just a frickin' fantastic album. Well worth checking out, as are all of these. Number 4. Here's one, too, that I didn't listen to a whole lot because I had one of the original CDs, from the 80s, and boy, the sound was just terrible on that first CD master. It was awful. And I think because of that, I never gave it much of a chance. And then last year, my very dear friend John over at Off the Record here in Grand Haven, who I cannot recommend highly enough shopping there. It's a fantastic little local record store, and he can get just about anything you're after. But I picked this one up, the Vertigo remaster of and I'm one of those weird people. I leave the plastic wrap on, so you're gonna get a little glare. But Master of Reality, which was the 3rd Black Sabbath album, the one right after Paranoid. So Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Instrumental and Embryo, Children of the Grave, Orchid is an instrumental, Lord of This World, just bone-crunching heavy Lord of This World, Solitude, and the doom and gloom classic Into the Void. So really, 6 songs with lyrics, 2 instrumentals. This one's heavy, it's diverse, great riffs. It doesn't sound like the first 2. They didn't try and replicate it, which is good. They didn't try and replicate the established pattern. Master of Reality, number 4. Love this album so much. So we've got a great set of songs on there. Number 3. This one, the band themselves talked about how much they hated the cover. They didn't like the masters. They didn't like the production of it. They didn't like the sound, and yet it's gained in cult popularity more and more and more. They just, after almost 40 years, just 38 years, they found the master tapes, and there's word of a proper remix at the hands of Tony Iommi himself. This one features Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward came back, and Ian Gillan of Deep Purple on vocals. And I can only be talking about Born Again. Yes, it's a cheesy, horrific cover. The band knew it then. I was lucky to get into Black Sabbath at a time when it was pretty much non-existent. They had folded, the Tony Martin years were done, they had not yet gotten back together with Ozzy, and so in that couple of year period, I discovered them, and I just fell in love with all eras of the band, except for Glenn Hughes. I'm sorry, Mr. Hughes, I love your work. The Burn is a masterpiece, but anyway. So what was really interesting too, Bill Ward was sober, but he was not comfortable touring, so Bev Bevan from the Electric Light Orchestra ended up touring on this, on drums. But the opening song, Trashed, Disturbing the Priest, Zero the Hero, Digital Bitch, Born Again, Hotline, Keep It Warm. The sound on this is crunching, it's brutal. Ian Gillan's voice, to me this was the best it ever sounded. After this, he never hit the notes the same way again. The screams were there, the vibrato was there, he was in top form, his lyrics were clever. This was a really, really great underrated Black Sabbath album, and like I say, it's grown in popularity over the years, and it's being rediscovered, and hopefully in the next year or two getting a proper remaster, which would be nice. All the same, it's just a heavy, fast, bone-crunching album in places, and slow, heavy bone-crunching in others. So, number 3, Born Again. Ian Gillan singing for Black Sabbath. Numbers 2 and 1, these are also 2 that could interchange at any given moment. I still don't know which one to pull first here. It's agonizing for me. But I got these 2 in the same year, very close to each other. I don't remember which one came first. Totally different lineups, totally different production eras. Forgive me, Ronnie James Dio, my favorite Dio album, but I'm going to put it as my number 2 favorite Black Sabbath album. I've spoken of it before, not going to go too much into it here. Dehumanizer, it was their reunion in 1992. This was heavy, it was angry, it was industrial. The riffs were phenomenal, they were out of this world. The song it doesn't get any better than that for the Dio years, except for maybe the song Heaven and Hell. Computer God was well ahead of its time. TV Crimes, Sins of the Father, Time Machine, Buried Alive, just a smoker of an album. It was so hard to choose whether this was 1 or 2, because it's really like 1 and 1 for me. And then my number 1 was the other album I picked up right around the same time. Again, within months, maybe weeks of each other. And this is an American record pressing. I wore the cassette tape out when I got it. Black Sabbath album number 5, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. The title track is about the heaviest thing they ever did in any lineup or iteration. National Acrobat, Fluff, Sabracadabra, Killing Yourself to Live is phenomenal. Who Are You Looking for Today? Spiral Architect. Rick Wakeman from the band Yes actually played the keyboards on this album. This was 1970. It came out, I believe, December of 73. A lot of people consider it, let's see, yes, the American pressing is copyright 1974. they were starting to experiment in quite a big way. And this was, to me, the last great Ozzy record with Black Sabbath. They were never able to replicate the creativity, the sound, the feel, the vocals. This is just a bruiser of an album, but it's musically diverse. It's got great acoustic interludes. Iommi's riffs were out of this world. The entire band was at its zenith on this album, the original lineup. For me, Black Sabbath does not get any better than Dehumanizer and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, again recorded under entirely worlds apart circumstances. Production is way different on them, lineup is different, but this is, I cannot speak highly enough about this album. I should just do a Ozzy years as well, and so it won't surprise you when we get there, by the way, that this will be number one. So to recap, my 10 favorites: Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Dehumanizer, 1983's Born Again, Master of Reality, Mob Rules, Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath, Paranoid, and from the criminally overlooked Tony Martin years, Headless Cross and Eternal Idol. So thank you very much for your viewing, for your patronage. I look forward to doing more of these. Like I say, I have several written down, several planned out. Things got a little crazy around here, as happens in life. So thank you all so much. Please leave your comments, your thoughts, your suggestions, and I look forward to hearing from you and talking with you again soon.